Financial Secretary Neil Smith said there is a heavy reliance on government to drive the Virgin Islands economy, and to correct this, an atmosphere conducive to business must be created in order to grow the economy. Speaking at the opening of the Ministry of Communication and Works retreat to set out a 10-year strategic plan, the Financial Secretary said the growth of the Virgin Islands government has outpaced the growth in the economy, leading to a bigger government.
In 2002, we had a outstanding debt of some $40 million. Today, outstanding debt is $113 million. When taken in the context of GDP growth, we noticed then as well that the growth of public expenditure relative to GDP growth has increased from 25% a decade ago to 31% today. And revenue has also grown. Revenue to the government of the Virgin Islands has also grown from 23% a decade ago to 31% today. This shows, on one side, that the government of the Virgin Islands as an institution has outpaced the growth in the government, has outpaced the growth of the economy in the Virgin Islands. In effect, the government of the Virgin Islands is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger when taken in context with the entire economy.
He said the trend shows increased reliance on the central government to drive the economy, a state of play, he argued, that is not acceptable.
Generally speaking, where we have economies that have very large governments, and when I say large governments, I mean large relative to the rest of the economy, they normally find themselves eventually in economic decline. The cost of services to the people become misaligned with the quality of service that the people are getting. The economy loses its vigor, and eventually the standard of living of its citizens is threatened. The figures in this document that you should read show that we have been trending towards this in past years. So I believe that we may agree that state of play is not an acceptable one. So what is the solution?
According to figures given by the Financial Secretary, the territory's recurrent balances fell by an alarming $21 million from $40.5 million in 2002 to $18.8 in 2011. However, that situation was corrected through the implementation of what he called slightly draconian measures by government in 2011. Smith noted that fluctuations in the local economy are driven by a reliance on the international financial services industry.
Fiscal balances, on the other hand, which are the balances when you include capital expenditure, went from negative $37.5 million in 2002, but by the end of 2011 was 39.9. Not much of a movement between both times, but in between there was some fluctuations. During that time period as well, the rate of expenditure had outstripped the rate of growth of revenue. So the rate at which we were spending was growing at a quicker rate than the rate at which revenues were increasing. And in cases where revenue for a short period, the rate of growth in revenue might have outstripped the rate of growth of expenditure, this was due wholly to humps or performance in the financial services sector. Since 2007, revenue has been flat and even fell in 2009, with a recovery period between 2010 and 2011. And again, when we measure the components of revenue, the major category, the one that is making it go up or making it fall, is financial services.
The Financial Secretary also warned that unless further corrective measures are implemented, there could soon be insufficient revenue for government to cover its expenditure. He said to correct this, efforts should include growing the economy and creating an atmosphere conducive to business.
Our fiscal analysis, again, is shown in this document, shows that we have been on a consistent trend that suggests that sometime in the future there will not be enough revenue to meet our operational expenditure. That is a worrying issue. But the solution is twofold to this. And as the Premier stated repeatedly, we must grow the economy so that there will be more taxes to collect and more jobs for people to fill. And on the other hand, he places on us the mandate of efficient, effective, transparent, and credible management of the resources that they have allocated to us.
The Financial Secretary has charged public servants to be more accountable in their respective positions, produce accurate and timely information, be more transparent and efficient, and to stop wasting government's scarce resources. Neil Smith also called for improved and closer working relationships between the various departments of government and the Ministry of Finance to effectively carry out government's mandate, which seeks to improve the management of the country's resources while achieving sustainable economic development for generations to come.